Yes, you're gonna have people turn their backs, but it's time for us to keep it real. Just keep talking that real, bro. Do what you do. I know what you do, so keep doing that. Talk the real.
The HBI lads will see you now. See you now. See you now.
I don't want to cause no problems. I just want to live my life, but I keep on hearing about nonsense.
Welcome back to the HBI podcast. We've got two of the boys with us today. Nathan's he's busy working. He's a busy man. So we've got Mr. Mina Garris. How you doing, bro?
Good, legends. How are we going?
Good, bro. And we've got Mr. Daniel Kirkbride. What's going on?
Hi, boys.
Going good, bro.
Legend.
Man, my intro compared to Nate's very anticlimactic. So it's not a great start to the podcast. But today, Mina's going to lead us in with a topic now that we've got obviously down to 3 boys today because Nate had to work and that sort of thing. So we can't go balls deep on some certain topics that we really want to chat to you about, but we've rustled up with an idea that we think might go somewhere. So Mina's going to lead us in and explain what we're going to talk about today.
So leading on from Nathan's absence, this is exactly what we're talking about. So as you guys know, we've mentioned previous podcasts, and Nathan's, he's built 2 clinics now. He's trying to manage his existing one and building a new one. And this is generally a great step, and sometimes sacrifices need to be made, but which ones, right? Is it the detriment of financial gain for return on investment for expansion, or is it, I need to be in the business, I can't afford it, I'm too scared to take a risk to get to the next step? So what steps are critical? What's important? What are the do's and don'ts of what we should, and how do we know that we're scaling it to get to that point so we have a little bit of direction? So that's the topic of today. So I'm really excited to talk about this one. So you boys have done some pretty big jumps in business and continuing to do so, and also planning to do more. So let's talk about, and maybe Benny, you can start us off, kind of when you started your business, how did you know, at what point were you ready to grow? From just being yourself, shadowing other health practitioners, when was it time for you to start your clinic, and how did you even expand from there?
For me, simply it boils down to, I guess, supply and demand, right? We are therapists, we're limited by our time, especially if we run just appointments only, whether you run a 30-minute, 45, 60, 90-minute appointment. So obviously when demand exceeds supply, so the demand is obviously the amount of clients coming through, and the supply is the amount of appointments that we can run per week or per day or over a select time period. So when demand overrides your supply, and we all work with people in pain, right? So people in pain are in pain immediately, so they need help yesterday. So simple things as they can't afford to wait 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 6 weeks for an appointment. So for me, it was very easy. Once I got to, I guess, 3 or 4 weeks booked in advance, and that was running maybe 60 odd sessions a week. That's when I thought, look, I'm getting too overrun to run the appointments, and to see as many people as I need to see. And I need to basically employ, because there's too many people who need my help. And the only way I can service more people is to actually bring another practitioner on, because I was already running maximal sessions. So I wasn't prepared to go, 7 days a week, 6 a.m. start, literally running appointments from 6 a.m., finishing at like 8:45, 9 p.m. at night, and then trying to run the back end of the business on that. Yeah. I know you boys have been there as well. So basically it was very simple. There was too much demand for the supply that I had. So therefore I had to take the next step and employ someone else. And that was you, Mina, when you came on board. You're the first one to come on board.
Yeah, and I realized that process, and it's important for you to kind of be aware when you kind of grinding so hard. It's hard to see in when you're so focused on the task that you're doing. So a couple of really important points I picked up on there, and some things for you guys to really kind of pay attention to. So when you demand overrides your supply. So what Benny's talking about there is, once you start to exceed a certain amount of clientele, it's important for you to register, okay, I'm going to now slightly impact these clients from getting the results, because they're waiting 2, 3, 4 weeks to get to me. And then over that time, their condition could be deteriorating as well. The other impact we've got is, trust and demand. So to service that demand, you're going to then put a brand new therapist on. When everyone's so used to your treatment, you've got to offload more time to put that return on investment into the new therapist that you have to then try and trust your clients to go to. And then you've got the focus of working on the business versus in the business. So these are really, really, really critical points that, Benny's kind of pointed out to us. And to kind of add to that, when I'm working, on the grind constantly, there's a few things that kind of came to my mind was that, where do I want my business to grow? And this is why we have put in so many of our previous podcasts that your planning and prioritization is actually critical, because if you're working towards getting bigger, then that shouldn't be a shock to you, right? If you haven't planned your approach to getting big. So I said to myself, my body clinic, I set myself 12 months to set it up, because by the second year, I wanted to open up clinic number 2. Right. So when I started to onboard, I had my policies and processes. So that way, when someone else came into the clinic as a new therapist, everything was kind of set up for them. Right. I knew how the impact of me coming out of the business was, in order to spend some time coaching and developing these future therapists. And now I've been able to employ, I think, 4 therapists over a period of 6 months. And if I need to leave or exit the business, I can.
Yeah, absolutely. Good points there, brother.
So, sorry, it's my dog in the background. But Dan, you've done a couple of interesting times. You've gone into state. So tell us how you've kind of been able to, have a really busy clinic and do all that sort of stuff, as well as doing the mentoring. And then obviously due to COVID, you were able to kind of pick up and go into state.
Yeah, look, I think nothing on you boys, to be honest. I think all you 3 guys are miles ahead of what I'm doing in terms of that clinical aspect of things. I think the good thing about what I do, I guess, was it was easy to move, just because I wouldn't really say, like, when I look at you guys, I think you guys actually run a clinic. You have other people work for you. You have staff, and you have a lot of stuff going on. Versus with me, I feel like it's more of it's just like a small studio. It's just me. It's pretty like low risk and pretty easy. So like, I mean, there's still involvements of like having to scale and like do what we're talking about and, allocate my time to do other things. But for me, it was like, I know my ambition wasn't really to hire anyone. I was kind of just enjoying, being first year out, especially from uni when I started my clinic. My idea was like, I don't want to deal with other people. Like, I'm still learning myself, finishing uni, and just like running the business and learning how to be an osteo is already enough for my brain to handle. So I guess like for me, it was more, it's probably not inspiring, but I was literally just rolling with the punches, trying to see how things grew. I think, remember when I first met Benny, I was doing like 20 sessions a week, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I kind of want to teach. I kind of want to treat people. I kind of want to coach people. I kind of want to travel Australia and not have a clinic. Like, I don't know what I want to do. So it was very much a process that kind of fell into place. I guess like my biggest thing for growth would have been like when it came to earlier this year and I started running more education. It was not a habit of like, the supply was good. I was probably seeing 40, 45 people a week, and it was probably getting to that point where I was like, I might have to start looking at other people, but I never wanted to, just because I knew that I wasn't 100% committed to it. And as you would know, if you're going to hire someone, you want to know, I've got a long-term plan. I'm not just hiring someone as like an emergency, I need someone to help out.
Yeah.
So for me, at the time I was starting the education. So it was like, okay, if I'm seeing 40, 50 people a week, it's not enough time for me to start creating content, delivering content, coaching people online, and essentially it was like the same sort of issue, just very different, because it wasn't just face-to-face demand. It was like, can I service the people I'm servicing face-to-face? Can I also write 20, 30 programs a week and service these other people? And then can I start to service 20, 30 students and write content and be present at the same time? So like the VA was a big one for me. Hiring the VA was fucking game changer. Best $10 an hour you'll ever spend. And yeah, I guess it's like just a little bit more flexible, because a lot of what I do is online, so it doesn't rely on the physical location. So
that's right.
Even now in Adelaide, I think it's more of a personal brand, where if I go to Adelaide, I go to Brisbane, like I can treat people, because it's more of a me thing versus a clinic thing. Versus, if I was to have a clinic, a physical location with 5 therapists, and that's obviously a bit different and a completely different business model. So I guess it's a little bit different to what you guys do, just in terms of similar principles, is just different way we do things.
Yeah, but there's still a lot of other people that do what you do. So I think this is still a great insight into how you've still been able to make that work, right? So whether you're running a clinic, I think the point is that you're able to kind of go from clinic work to education.
Yeah.
Right. And to be able to kind of let that go, you kind of need to know, well, if money's not coming in from the other side, then what's the transition look like? And that grace period between where I build that content to launch, to then managing the other side of the business. So this is where I see the gold, right? Is the steps that you take to make that critical aspect of it seamless.
Yeah.
I think
I cut down to 20 sessions a week. At one stage it was 15. So yeah, it was a big cut in terms of instant income, because it's like your income pretty much goes from, it was a 50% drop in income for a 6-week period while I was building out stuff. And then, obviously once it was built out and launched, it was like, okay, it was a good return on investment once you get that stuff launched, but there's that grace period of like, well, I can hire someone or I can just take a drop. But it's like, if you can see that return on investment long-term, then it makes sense. Definitely processes in the middle and steps along the way.
Yeah, I think it boils down to, like Mina said at the start, goals and visions about where you want to be, 10 years, 5 years, 2 years, whatever it might be. What kind of lifestyle do you want to live? What actually gets you fired up and passionate about business, and what do you actually want to do in your business? Now, do you want to become an educator and big personal brand? Do you want to build your clinic and brand over your own name? Like, there's 100 different ways to do it. Do you want to eventually just not even do anything, just have the clinic running on its own, and you just go and do your crypto trading or whatever that might be? That's probably what I want to do.
You would just have the backup plan.
Yeah, I think so. It's about combining, all of those variables into one. So obviously, when demand exceeds supply, like in the same for any business model, it's all right, time to provide more supply. So I think that even I want to go down the education path as well and run courses and, develop e-commerce products and all this sort of thing. But in order for me to step back and reduce sessions for the week, it had to be then, all right, well, if I'm reducing for a reason. I've put in someone else to fill in the time. I've mentored them. I've coached them. I'm continually developing them as a practitioner and trying to standardize the methodologies and practices across the board. So that way, the people who like me will still like Rulan, who will still like this person, that person, whatever therapist you got in your team. So I believe it's a combination of the passion, the goals, and then it's about running the logistics of everything. So what are your overheads? How much cash flow do you need coming through to keep everything afloat? What happens when there's a COVID pandemic and you've been fucking shut down for 6 months and there's no real reason to keep you shut? I think it's then having that contingency plan around, all right, we just need enough money to keep our responsibilities and our liabilities afloat and avoiding basically going under.
Yeah, it's a good point. And that's what we call forecasting, right? So if you want to be able to jump to a therapist, or you're hoping to do that, these are the sorts of things that you kind of need to think about in terms of, how much money is in the bank? Can I stay afloat? What are my general expenses in terms of doing that? What's going to be the return on investment on taking myself out to put the time to someone, and the person that I bring in, are they then going to make that money back that I kind of lost? And that's what we call the ROI, right? And they're scary steps to take. Right? They're quite scary steps to take, but they're not scary when they're planned, right? And your confidence comes from that, right? From your planning and working with people to help understand, okay, is the approach I'm taking right? Work with your accountant, collaborate with other business people that have done that in the past to make sure that you're not doing the mistakes that, other people have done. And even get yourself a business coach if you're still not sure on how to do this. There's a lot of business coaches out there that will support you through that process. So at any point in time that you need something, you've got a bit of a backbone in terms of a map on how to do it.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. In anything, if it's personal training, if it's a physio, if it's business coaching, if it's whatever profession it might be, there is usually someone out there who's already been there, done that. There's already someone out there who can walk you through it and hold your hand and make sure you don't make any sort of fatal mistakes. So I think that yeah, this podcast is along the lines of a lot of other stuff that was said, but at the end of the day, it's about pursuing what you want to do. It's living the life you want to live, planning for that, and making sure that you're not, letting down the people who are working with you, and you're not letting down your clients as well. So I think it's just about really combining everything, all the variables.
And I think on one of the next podcasts, I'm actually going to ask my business coach to come on and have a chat to us about, the importance of a business coach, what she does, how she goes about it. So her name's Alicia and her husband James run the business. So they're called Massage Champions, and they work specifically with health professionals because they've run clinics themselves. So I'd love to get on the call and, give you guys a bit of an insight into how they do things, why they do things, the reward, the benefits they get. And I think it will give you guys a lot of insight into the steps we've taken to get to where we are.
That'll be good, bro. Any other thoughts there, Dan?
I'd just echo what Mina said. I reckon, the biggest thing, especially for me, development-wise, was, just like trying to get a clear path and idea of what's going on, and then find someone who's done what you've done. Like figure out what your point B is. Find someone who's at your point B, who's done it a million times, so you can essentially like fast track your process of getting there, and just help you along the way. So similar to Mina, invested a lot of money and time in business coaches and mentors to help me get there. And I think it's like probably the most important thing you need when you have big goals and big ambitions.
Absolutely. We're all got big dreams, big visions. We're all shaking up the industries, which is really good. So, and that's another point, just for business is like, if you're already going into a competitive industry and a competitive business, like, and your passion might not be as standardized as everyone else's, it's like, that's also one way to build and generate great businesses, to have that niche and to have that passion, which might be a little bit different to what the herd has. So I think, if you combine all the variables, you get the right guidance, you weigh up, whether you can take the risks or not. Like it becomes, as Mina said, it doesn't become so risky anymore. Like what's the worst thing that could happen? You go back and work a few more extra shifts for a few more months, like until you build up that kitty again. You refine what you're spending, and you take out a few expenses that are unnecessary. So if you've got the passion, the drive to be where you want to be at point B, as Dan said, then you will make it happen regardless of the circumstances.
It's about being resourceful, really. I think all the most successful people find a way to get stuff done when they don't have the resources. Like your back's against the wall and you figure out how to find the money or find the time, and if you want it bad enough, you'll make it happen, sort of thing. Like obviously there's some strategy to it. It's not just work hard and your dreams will come true. But I think if you have the right people around you, you're willing to invest and are resourceful, then the outcome is pretty inevitable. It's just how long it will take you to get there.
Love it.
It's a matter of when, not if. I like that.
Yeah. Kirk Bright.
Well, yeah, do the old Twitter quote, screenshot it and chuck it on the gram. Give you some authority. All right. Well, Mina, you got the outro today.
I love it. So just a couple of the points, just to summarize, kind of know where you're at, or how to recognize where you're at when you're ready to go on. So kind of have that in the plan. Right. So don't kind of just take it week on week and see what happens. Plan your progress. And then from there, I would definitely review and have a look at a business coach, someone that can give you the stuff or the knowledge that you don't have, right? So you can spend the time doing the actions that you need to do, right? Have a look at your supply and demand. That will give you an indication in terms of, am I ready to kind of onboard someone? What does that look like? And then, when you progress to you taking yourself out of the business, well, you need to also plan that and know by you taking yourself out of the business, there's going to be moments where you're going to have a decrease in cash flow. So will I be able to sustain that cash flow while, bringing someone else on board? And reach out to the people around you who've done it before. So these are just the little things that we've kind of wanted to summarize for you guys today. So if you're thinking about growing, grow. If you're thinking about getting a business coach, go out and do it. If you're not sure, ask the question. Don't leave yourself pondering, because what is achievable in a year, you'll be surprised on how much you'll actually return on your investment by actually putting these things in place. So whether, you're looking at running a clinic, whether you're looking at coming out of uni and starting fresh, whether you're going to jump from clinical work to educational work, doesn't matter what that step is, because at some point you're going to have to decrease your hours in order to get that return on investment to grow. So we hope that's helped you guys today. Give us a love, give us some love, give us a share on the socials, wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and we will see you guys next week.
Thanks, guys.